In addition, earlier today, President Biden landed in Poland, where he met with members of the U.S. Army's 82nd Airborne Division, who are stationed there along the Poland-Ukrainian border. Here's what he had to say.
We're in a new phase. Your generation, we're at an inflection point. About every 4 or 5 generations that comes along and changes, fundamental change takes place. The world ain't going to be the same, not because of Ukraine, but I'm not going to be the same 10, 15 years from now in terms of our organizational structures. And the question is, who's going to prevail? Are democracies going to prevail and the values we share, or autocracy is going to prevail? And that's really what's at stake.
Here with me now to talk about the president's trip to Europe, as well as some other things, is Travis Weber, Vice President for Policy and Government Affairs at FRC. Travis, good to see you today.
Thank you.
What's your reaction to Biden's comments there?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard for anyone to watch that clip and not observe that he just looks really tired. You know, it's lacking energy, like he's almost going to fall asleep. And you observe that and you're focused on that, not on the substance of what he's saying. The impression is one that projects weakness, not strength. It projects uncertainty, not the projection the United States needs to be making right now as the leader of the free world, trying to galvanize NATO and Europe. You know, if you're the Russians watching this, you're thinking this is just, you know, someone we're going to try to keep pulling a fast one on with our activities in Ukraine and elsewhere, to say nothing of the way the Chinese leadership might be looking at this, eyeing up Taiwan, assessing and thinking about the dynamics around the possible attempt they might make to take Taiwan as they observe Russia and Ukraine and President Biden's statements like what we just observed. So, you know, this is, I think it does not send a solid signal, it does not send a good signal for the world, because it does not show U.S. strength and leadership for freedom, democracy, and the protection of human rights and democratic ideals around the world. We know right now that China, you know, among other things, the Chinese government has been continuing to exercise control over Hong Kong. Last week there was a report about the crackdown and effect on religious schools in Hong Kong, their autonomy in the face of new restrictions that have gone into place last year, made a lot of waves over the past year or two, but have not gotten a lot of attention since. So there are continue to be crackdowns and repression worldwide in secret, in escaping a lot of the focus of the news, to say nothing, obviously, of North Korea's noise-making with its missile testing and other activities recently, no doubt trying to put its voice in the mix as Russia, China, and Iran and other countries test Biden's mettle on the world stage. So you look at a statement like that, and it's obviously problematic when we need to project U.S. strength right now worldwide.
To your point, there are many implications from this current conflict. Could be other autocrats, other tyrants looking to seize on their neighbors. And certainly the way the world is responding right now to this Russian invasion of Ukraine may influence how they respond. Now, on Thursday night, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky had some comments to the European Council where he thanked them for what they're doing, but said, quote, "It was a little late." Do you think the world is learning any lessons, including the Biden administration, where we might be ahead of the game in the future?
Yeah, you know, Joseph, I don't know. I hope so. I hope that we're learning lessons from what we're observing right now worldwide. I hope that the actions that we have taken and parts of countries in Europe have taken against Russia will bear fruit. And I hope that we learn from wherever we've fallen short on our response, and it can adjust in the future. I just fear that without a sufficiently firm and a firm response that projects strength and does not waver worldwide, without that, we are going to fall short when it comes to Russia, when it comes to Iran, elsewhere. I am heartened at the same time, though, heartened by the response of some European countries, Poland and other countries, taking in their populations, really taking in the Ukrainian refugees who are fleeing, providing aid for them, and helping alleviate the burden and suffering that we're seeing with millions displaced in that part of Europe right now.
Watching the Biden administration respond to this, one does get the sense that there's a lot of looking around the room and saying, well, what are you going to do? I don't know. What are you going to do? What are you going to do before a decision is made? And that's not what leadership looks like. But Travis, another subject I want to bring up with you now. the nation has been watching this confirmation hearing process with Judge Jackson. Famous comments, now infamous comments, I suppose, about what a woman is. Senator Joe Manchin has given the Democrats a lot of trouble in the last year, but has indicated that he plans to vote to confirm Judge Jackson. Do you think his declaration all but assures Judge Jackson will become Justice Jackson?
I think we're pretty close to that point. I think the vote will likely take place along party lines. It will be a pretty close vote. Leader McConnell did come out with a statement recently that he plans to vote against her and laying out his reasons why. So that should give encouragement to some Republicans who might be right on the fence. With these nominations, it's always interesting. You have some Republicans who might vote a certain way on the underlying issues, but then when they look at the nomination confirmation process, they kind of frame it and process the decision that they're making a bit differently and say, we're going to kind of defer to the president's nominee. The problem with that is when the president's nominee has a bad process and bad judicial philosophy or philosophy of government if it's a non-judicial nominee. In this instance, you have Judge Jackson definitely trying to frame herself as an originalist and assure Republicans and conservatives that she has a legitimate process for interpreting the Constitution. She certainly has a process for doing so, but I don't think it's anything close to originalism. And I think what she's put forth publicly is an assurance that she will fall into a reliably liberal voting wing of the court that is carrying on decades and decades of judicial activism, reading policy into the Constitution instead of determining what the law is. This is unacceptable. She should be opposed. We'll have to see what happens, but I do think we're likely looking at her being confirmed in the near future.
Travis, in about 30 seconds, should the ability to distinguish between boys and girls be a minimum qualification to be on the Supreme Court?
It should be a minimum qualification for all public offices, but this is where we're at today in society, and it says where we're at by the fact that that is a legitimate point of discussion right now.
Travis Weber, thank you so much for your time being with us. Interesting conversation, and we're going to get in more later in the program around the Justice Jackson questioning and confirmation process. But Travis, we appreciate your time for now. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.